From dominating champs to making Olympic history, Melaine Walker has built a legacy defined by resilience, discipline, and excellence. Now, the girl is shaping the next generation at Hydel High School. Can you believe that? She's proving that true greatness isn't just about medals. It's about the lives you impact along the way. Morning.
Good morning, Dana.
So good to see you, Melaine. Yes. Oh my gosh, you're back at champs. Reminds you of the days of St. Jacob, not true? Tell me a little bit about those days.
All right, so obviously, Melaine was made at St. Jacob.
When did you realize you had talent in running?
Well, we do it from basic school, you know.
Okay.
So National Baptist run this jungle, Stone. And, you know, I work with Miss Pauline Davis, right? She was principal coach. And at the time, you know, just I tried to figure out track and field. Yeah. And then obviously after I left there, I went to Taran Primary and, you know, at every level, champion girl. Straight through to that, and then I meet Raymond Casey Graham at primary champs. And I guess that's where he asked me if I would be interested in going to St. Jago. And I said yes. And then since that day on, 1996, I went to St. Jago. And that's the first year St. Jago won champs. And we won all 4 years until I graduated. Yes.
No, little known fact. Some might know it. Class 2. You beat Veronica Campbell-Brown in the 100 and 200 meters.
Yes, remember, you know, Melaine was the actual sprint champion at champs.
Yes.
I started out long jump, high jump, hurdles, 4x1.
Okay.
And then a little story, went to Miami Classics, you know, just to get a little run off. And obviously being the champion, you know, I went there and everybody wanted a little medal to come home with. Somebody decided to slow down in one race, so one of my friends get a medal and I end up come fourth. So when I did that though, my coach was like, oh God, look like you're not going to make no relay next year and one bag of threatening. So I said, all right. And then I come back prepare for the next year. So in my second year, class 3, I was the fastest girl at St. Jago. One of the fastest time in the championship when Peter Gay Dowdy left. I dominated from class 3 to first year class 1 at the Girls and Boys Championship. So Veronica Campbell got to beat me one time when I was doing high jump at in sports day at St. Jago. And I fell, and they keep pushing, you know, we have one bag, we don't have no Olympic bag, so they keep pushing the bag to one direction. But when I'm supposed to jump, they had to push it back to my side so I can land on the bed. But for whatever reason, because it's under the bar, it looks okay. So when I took off, I went all the way up, get over the bar, and fell on the ground.
Whoa.
And that's when I cracked my shoulder bone, yes. And on the day when I was supposed to go to the doctor to check, it was the day of champs to see if it was okay to, you know, to move the arm or whatever. He was not there. So Mr. Graham said, do you want to compete? And I said, yes, sir. And I decided to compete. So I said 100, 200, and the 100 meter hurdles. And then in the 4x1, I said, sir, I can't run no more, and I hurt. And him say, well, we're not really too having the body, so we're going to put you on the anchor leg, and hopefully you can bring home the stick. And once we came, I was leading, and I got the stick, and, you know, swinging home, you know, I couldn't do anymore. So that was when she actually got that chance to beat me. Wow.
So I'm listening, Melaine, all-round athlete, but sprinter, jumper. Where the 400 hurdles come from, girl?
Well, as I said before, my last year in school, last 2 years, in first year class 1. So I went to champs and I injured my leg, and it was devastating, you know, because I big plans for champs. And then, you know, the Carter Games is coming up, and Mr. Graham was saying, well, we are going to try over the 400 hurdles. And I'm like, no, but I don't want to do it. I will wait until I'm fixed, you know, I can get the leg work on and stuff like that. And I said, no, man, never want to leave me at home. So he encouraged me to try the 400 hurdles.
Wow.
And knowing the person that I am, I do not want to lose. So, you know, I went out there and won the 400 hurdles. And then went to Carter Games and Mr. Graham tell me if I win the 400 hurdles, I'm going to make me run on the 4x1. You know, me I run down the sprinting. So I said, all right, coach. And then I go out there and I win the hurdles in a 59 seconds. And then, I'm not putting on the relay. I'm you know. I'm not putting on the relay. So anyhow, I just watch and I pray. Then the year after, then the same year, the I think it was Barbados, that the committee there then probably asked me to come back because they're having a, I think this is more a professional meet, and they invited me to run. That is when I met Deanna Mins, met with Deanna Mins the first time, and then got into that race. You know, I said me and my athlete, my champion, I go run and win race, and when I was at the top curve, I heard footsteps coming, so I'm excited for some. I go run off with her. When I take a start, it was the US girl. I mean, I said, no, she's not going to win. I better me win. Better me win for Diane. And then when I took off, obviously, at the time when Diane's trying to come back, I was already in full speed. I won the race. And then Mr. Graham said, no more sprinting at your event, this. And I was like, devastation. Happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah. You know, a lot of what you're saying is about KC as a coach. Now you're a coach. So you know the importance of having a great coach to an athlete's success. What are some of the things that you are applying? Kind of everybody who can run, can coach. You know?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So what makes you now be such a great coach to the kids at Hydel?
Well, what I think is, as I say, it's mostly mental with coaching. You can be prepared for a championship, and mentally when you get out there, you don't run anything like what you have ever done in training. Just something total different. And it's not everybody have that capacity to kind of control, being able to manage the crowd and actually able to control the body and the mind. It does something completely different. And if you're not able to do that, then that's a big deal. And for me, that's where I see I come in that way. Well, I help Corey Bennett to coach the athletes, but at the same time, I think mentally is where I get them, in mind. Yeah. Usually when they go out there, them, Auntie, some of them may say, Auntie, please come out of the line when I want to see you, you know? And that, to me, kind of give them some sense of motivation and them feel more confident. And I do tell them stuff to kind of relax them so that when they're going to perform, it's not all about just, you know, this, oh, it's so scary. You know, it's execute your race the best way you know how. Focus on the race and not anything else. And some of the time that will get you through. Excellent. What's next for Melaine? Well, I'm thinking about the coaching, but at the end of the day, Delia, tell about the coaching, but I'd rather be on the other side any day. Yeah. Because I think I want to shine a light on the fact that coaches are really undermined, and you know, I don't know if there will be a situation at any point in time where coaches can benefit. Usually if an athlete don't turn around and say they're going to do something for the coach, that coach all I'm life probably spend all their money trying to help you, because after time the kids that they choose to help, they don't have anything. Just and talent. Because they see the talent, they be like, oh my God, me I go pay your fear, me I go help you with that jersey, me I go help you with that track shoes. And after time, these athletes get big and bold and blow up and them gone, and you don't see them and you're still poor and pauperized. So what can we do for coaches? And that is the dilemma I am seeing that is happening, because boy, I see Corey Bennett do some things for some athlete. And at the end of the day, sometimes, you know, just to look back to say, you know, help and see how things, you know, see if we can get things better. In many ways, those girls are very tough, because some situation I see them go through. One, for example, like sometimes we go to the trap meet and we don't really have a situation where somebody cooking any food or something like that, so we would probably try to get something, and the quickest thing we'll get is pizza. And they would eat like a slice of pizza for the day, and then we'll like, I probably notice other people eating lunch, and I'm saying, that is so crazy, look at these girls. Melaine, sorry to wrap it up, because we have that's so much more to talk about. But what you're saying is something that's been too long happening in Jamaica with our coaches, and it's something that we really have to see structurally. What can we do for them? I'm so glad that you're pouring into the young people. The Melaine legacy continues. Thank you. And I'm happy to see that Olympian Melaine Walker. Thank you, Delia. News in 5 is next.